Warning. The following may contain concepts, ideas, and/or reflections unique in nature and not yet approved by government and/or corporate entities. This content is for entertainment purposes only and is not intended to stimulate further reflection or to perpetuate additional discourse beyond the scope already outlined by institutional curriculum.
In 5, 4.
No, it's already
1, 0.
All right.
Lift off.
Man, we are back once again, and it just felt like that weekend just flew by.
Yes, it did. But am I ever glad it's a Monday?
Is that because you just love the performing arts?
I like performing, man.
Well, get ready, because what we're going to be talking about is collectivism and the legitimate lure of collectivism and why it just proliferates society and culture and religion and you name it. If there's more than two people together, you got collective, baby.
Yeah, man, you collective. Besides and, kind of doing this and that. Are you going to cue it up now?
Yeah, I'm going to do it now. It's going to be right here.
All right.
I think that's the intro now.
Face now, man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, so
hey, man, man, it feels like it was a coon's age since we last saw that intro. From the intro part to when we experienced that entire magic of music, and now we're here.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Right.
Okay, so we don't need to get too serious on a Monday. I mean, you poor sons of bitches have probably been out there slaving away, working a 9 to 5 or maybe even a 7 to 3. Nobody talks about the 7 to 3s, you know?
No,
it's all the 9 to 5.
A special class of humanoids.
Most people that have a 9 to 5 are sitting on their ass all day in front of a computer, but we always forget and run over the 7. It's actually not 7 to 3. It's actually 7 to 3:30 because you don't get paid for your lunch half hour, and you also don't get a lunch hour either. You get a lunch half hour. I mean, it's kind of that was a bit of a tangent, but I was just thinking of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 9 to 5. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Poor sons of bitches on your 9 to 5.
Working 9 to 5.
I mean, some guys are like, even because you get stuck in traffic. Most places don't have proper infrastructure now. So then they're like, hey, we could do you all a favor. You could start at 6. Wow, how generous of you! What a great olive branch. I can start at 6 in the morning now.
How delightful.
Wow.
Maybe get out there at 5.
I see insomnia in your cards. No.
I think
and there's nothing
is
wrong. No, there's nothing wrong with waking up early. But it is funny how some people are just forced to get up.
But it's kind of funny though, if you don't really need to get up, for some people like myself, I like to get up just before the crack of dawn. I like listening to those birdies start chirping. When those birds start chirping, I go, well, I guess it's time to get up.
Yeah. No,
and one thing I noticed,
nice.
I don't know if any of you, what do you call those people who study birds?
Oh man.
Anyways,
ornithologists or
what I've noticed over the years, recently, I actually really only noticed it recently, that just before the summer solstice, the birds will start chirping earlier and earlier and earlier. I've counted that probably just before 3:30 they'll start chirping. Once the solstice kicks in and the days start getting shorter, they almost start going back to start chirping when it gets light up. But anyways, that's kind of inconsequential to collectivism, but anyways, Did you have something to add to that or no?
Okay. Well, yeah. Mom was just throwing out a statement about 12-hour shifts from the ether, but yeah. I mean, there's people.
Where does that even come from?
I think
We're not talking
I think the
about-
point though too about the birds is that because we're closer to the equator here in Nicaragua, we're not really like experiencing that much of a shift in how much daylight we're getting.
But there still
Like,
is a shift.
there's a slight shift, but the fact that it's noticeable when the birds rise up is like almost that the light is not what they're as in tune to as the actual just shift of the celestial body of this great giant planet rotating around the sun.
Third rock from the sun. Yeah, and
I don't know.
But I think today is
I wasn't
the
prepared.
equinox.
I
though.
didn't-
This
I
isn't
didn't
the
do my
solstice.
research for
This
that.
is the equinox.
Yeah.
All things being equal,
Well,
kind of thing.
not all things. I mean, anything south of the equator is not really equal.
Well, it's equal to the north right now, and only for today,
right.
in which all our southern inhabitants gain back more light
True.
and power because light and sun equals power.
You have a celestial pull to your arguments today.
Yeah, I guess I do.
But so basically, so far we've really said nothing about, I guess, what our initial thing was. But that's good.
On
We're keeping it
collectivism.
loosey goosey.
Well, I
But
think it's really well.
no, it doesn't. Nothing ties
wanna
in.
talk
Let's
about
just
current-
start from
If
scratch.
you want to talk about current events and future trends, well, take for instance the people attending the what was the guy, Charlie Kirk?
Oh, that guy?
Yeah,
Oh,
the memorial.
There's
It
been
just
nothing
seems
about
like
him.
it's like everybody has to be of one mind, and so even in the realm of Christendom, you see this forced upon people to be of one mind, and they can't tolerate any kind of anything that takes away from that.
Well, yeah.
Whatever the fuck that word is, I can't seem to find it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna get hung up on the same thing that you're getting hung up on, but I do think that I mean our default zone. If you think that we kind of come from pack mentality, or a tribal
herd
mentality, it does kind of make sense that it's ingrained in our beings that we're going to gravitate towards. Okay, what's the collective thinking? And let me attach myself to that.
I guess scouts back in the day were more on the peripheral. That's where they were sent out ahead, kind of like scout things out.
Hey, why don't you check that cliff? See if that rock is stable or not. No, just keep on going further out. Just scout it out for us. We don't know yet.
Oh, there's one down.
Uh,
We still got a few.
There's
scouts
one
in our
individual that fell down a cliffside. We're slowly weeding them out. But yeah,
tribe. I wanted to say that
sure.
just out there that a corporation is collectivism for the rich, and
Yeah.
you could ponder on that for a bit.
Well, how long?
Just
feel
as long
like-
as it takes before you go, yeah, that kind of sounds right. If
Well,
you're
no, I mean everything. Dude, I mean you're preaching to the choir here in a sense, because if you're talking about corporations, I mean corporations are huge. I mean some of the things like a Ponzi scheme is basically like a corporate cult, right?
Are you all believing it? Are you all believing it?
We're gonna make
you know
some
that
money,
Bitcoin's
right?
going to go up, right?
Yeah.
You know that Bitcoin's going to go up, and when you buy into it, then my investment in it is going to go up.
And
as
if you
well.
can get two people and those two people can get another two people, and those two people can get another two people, I mean, what is that? It's centered around a company structure. It's centered around money, but it's really kind of like a cult-like collective,
yeah, it's
right?
kind of a business model with a religion attached to it.
And speaking of that, even a lot of these modern religions, well, even the ancient religions now kind of operate under a corporate model. I mean, a lot of churches are operating in that tax-free zone. they've got a series of accountants crunching the numbers, figuring out how to save their tax dollars here and there. You know,
like Christ, if he was here today, he'd be called Jet Set Christ. He'd have his 3-piece suit. He'd have the latest in digital technology at his fingertips so that he could do a proper conversion of the world.
Yeah, I don't want to get into anything like super sacrilegious.
Yeah, we don't want to.
But I was just thinking that
denigrate.
No, it wasn't that. But the point is that was just one example of like, and then you got like the Scientologists. It's like it's more of a corporate structure than it really is any religion.
Right.
I mean, how many of these quote unquote religions are really centered around some sort of financial structure consortium, right? And this is the big criticism that most people, I think if you just were like, you had a group of people that were presenting like ideological or theological ideas to the public and money was not involved at all, I think there would be a lot of people.
I think you could just see the interest level just take a nosedive.
No, I actually think the average person would be more interested because of the genuine nature. Like it would feel more genuine.
Yeah, but genuine would speak to genuine and artificial speaks to artificial. So
you're going to attract people that are like rung climbers. You know, the rung climber type. You know that breed of person, right?
Rock climbers?
Rung.
Oh, rung climbers.
They're rung climbers.
Ass kissers,
they
all the way up.
They're just looking. They get to one rung and then they're just looking up, straight up to the
First
next
they
one.
lick the boot until they get
where's
high
that
enough,
next
then
rung?
they kiss the ass.
I feel like I'm so close now to the tippity top. I want my wax wings to melt off once I get close to the sun.
Some people are extremely ambitious to have everything this world has to offer, which is kind of funny from a Christian's perspective, since Christ, when he was offered that, and the devil was saying, all that I have, all the kingdoms of this world are mine and the riches thereof. If you will bow down and worship me, I'll give them to you. And he denied it. And he said, as I am in this world, so are ye. So I find it kind of paradoxical that you would have many Christians that try to want to really position themselves quite well in this world.
Oh, for sure. But also, like, not just Christianity, but like also Buddhism. It's funny how like the entire premise of like diehard Buddhists are like, deny all the things of the material world to reach nirvana or to reach a state of spirituality because you're looking internally into your spirit. And people in the West were kind of like, what? And that's where New Ageism kind of came, where they're like, I like the Eastern mysticism stuff and like, walking on coals and stuff like that. I just don't like this, like, no money. I mean,
no.
Is that really what
there was a form of Buddhism called Nichiren Shoshu, of which I was a practitioner, by the way. And for a brief moment in time.
No.
And we would kneel down in front of a Butsudan and we'd go Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and then we would commence to thinking about the things that we desired of this planet, the riches of this world.
But
and we would focus our attention on that while we were praying this thing that was completely in Japanese. So we didn't really understand.
But dude, I don't
understand Japanese.
Okay, here's the thing. I don't know, like, I'm not up on the Buddhist religion as far as its entire hierarchy
for the West.
But this is what I'm saying. I think that there's a difference between, like, because even the Japanese Buddhist monks tend to, they got like little gardens outside the temple. They wear these very basic robes and everything. I think
they're really sincerely trying to live that spiritual life.
So it is possible that like a Buddhist person is not going to be monkish
even
in their lifestyle
sort of way, if I think about it.
Yeah, but the point is that it's funny how every major religion has to incorporate some sort of corporate structure to their ideology, because anything that's like antiquated, where it's just like we're just about the faith and religion, that slowly fades away. Like, okay, that's quaint, but like we gotta get down to brass tacks, and we need to file our taxes
maybe
and get
get
into our tax
maximum
haven
tax advantage scenario,
and make sure that it's the impression is put upon all of our new entries that this spiritual edification isn't fucking free.
Right, but
I mean,
I think right
you think
now
we
is
just go around
maybe
like
a good time
handing
to
this
talk
out?
about this guy called. He wrote a book called Briscoe. I didn't really read it, but you and Mama did, and he was rejected. He became a Christian and wanted to do something for Christ, and but any of the ministries said, well, you haven't gone to theological college or whatever. You don't have the credentials. And he went out on his own and did it. He went down to Amazon.
Yeah.
And he had a hell of a lot more real, genuine experiences than a lot of the so-called sent by the local church or the community church in the name of Christ to go down there and save those savages.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get in the weeds about just the religious
Yeah,
structure
that's
of collectivism because there's so many other facets that is like way more than that, and I do want to keep the video kind of short.
Yes,
So,
I quite understand.
I mean, I think people understand what we're saying. If they don't, well, maybe they're
Retarded?
members of a church or they're deep into Scientology or something like that. I don't know, but whatever it is, I mean, yeah, someone that's deep into any sort of structure of collectivism is not going to. These words are going to bounce off.
And typically, what
them,
it really
but-
implies is that you need to be reaffirmed by somebody else next to you. You believe in that, don't you? Yeah. So do I. Oh boy, that just really makes it all that more powerful. I feel reinforced.
Okay, I was gonna get off of religion, but I might just add one thing in relation. Is
Okay.
that for me one of the things that differentiates Christianity from a lot of other religions is the independence of it in its core, not in the religious structures that exist today, but in its core. The idea was you're not going to some Sanhedrin, you're not going to some priesthood to speak to God, that through Christ you're speaking directly through Christ to him, and that you don't need anything else.
And he's calling you as an individual.
And so if you're looking for guidance, you don't have to be looking to other people like, what I'm doing is correct, right? Because if you're getting that like real genuine connection directly through Christ to God, then you're getting that like affirmation
Connection.
of what you're doing is correct.
Spirit.
And once you have like a true like concrete, solid, I'm not going to be wavering. I know what I need to do now, and I'm going to do it. You don't need some dumb shit people around you to, if they agree with it, that's great, but it's not a prerequisite because you've already got like your confirmation. And some people could even look at it just as looking inside yourself. If you want to look at it like that, I don't look at it like that entirely.
Gave
but
you your confirmation number, and you need not receive another number from
right, like, so
somebody else.
you could look at it like either from a religious standpoint, or you just look at it from like looking internally, however you want to look at. I think the only dead end that can happen if you just say like, yeah, the self, and you just look inside, is then people could point to insanity, and then you go, well, okay, yeah, I mean, that guy looks all inside all the time, but he's completely disassociated from everything. And that's where when you're speaking to a universal truth, that God has a universal truth, and you can access a universal truth through Christ to him. Not to sound too religious in this, but This is what I'm talking about as far as that's what I like about Christianity, is that while a lot of its tendrils and a lot of its organizations seem very collectivist, and I 100% agree with that, I think that the principle behind Christianity is not the collective, is actually the one individual standing as an island against a sea of everybody else.
Yeah, it's a person-to-person relationship with the creator.
So, I mean, okay, let's close the chapter on the religious, because
That
I think
component
we
of it.
kind of
Sure.
covered that. You either agree or you don't agree. To each his own. You find what works for you. We're not going to force anything upon you. It's well, we
we'll
could.
kinda, no, but
I mean,
we'll kind of let.
I
it
mean,
go
we
at
could be like the
that, but-
Prophet Muhammad with a scimitar and come to your house with the scimitar and convert you manually. But I don't think that really
That's
is
more
a
of
good
a
way.
political movement, though, as they say.
But just in case we're getting too popular on YouTube, I want to make sure that we said some controversial
Well, we still
enough to
haven't
get.
hit 3 views yet, so I mean, I think there's still room for. There's still latitude in discussion.
But that is a part of it. Who says what's controversial? Well, that is the collective. The collective is deciding. There are so many aspects where what is said today would not be considered controversial in yesteryears.
Of course, the grassroots is not the collective necessarily. They're not the ones making decisions.
No, but I'm just saying.
board of
I'm
directors
just saying
and
that
maybe-
this is the problem with collectivism, is that with collectivism there is no universal truth to it, right? It all collectivism is what the general population is given to say today, and that
That is
there's
acceptable.
no, but there's no concrete structure, this is the only thing that this collective will ever say. They could change. They could go from being diversity is our strength and we love everybody to we're going to go completely uniculture and we're going to start killing everybody that looks different from us.
Right.
And there's no that's still collectivism.
Right.
Both things are still collectivism. So if people think that there's some formula for figuring it out, no, it's just whatever a mob decides to do. A mob could turn over cars and burn shops and steal some Nikes.
Well,
They
especially
could-
when they're told by the autocracy that this is acceptable behavior for this time period.
Well, yeah, and they could also a collective could also just form a sort of a Gestapo type union where they end up getting these contracts for removing snow and just pocket the money and don't really
Hey,
do the job
I
properly.
made them an offer they couldn't refuse.
But no, I mean the
Hey,
list
want the snow gun or what?
the list of collectivism is it's goes into perpetuity, because as soon as one form of collectivism fizzles out, there's another one that's taking its place almost instantly. And there's some jokes made about it. I remember that South Park episode that was oh man, it was way back, maybe 12 years ago, where they Cartman goes into the future and these guys are Christianity, religion's gone, but all these atheists are now fighting over the origins of the planet, and they're all in these brutal wars. Just kind
Was
of
it Big Bang or how long was the Big Bang? Or I didn't watch it. I'm
we
only
came from a certain
speculating.
primate, and they're just
Did we spin
and-
off from the fish or did we spin off from monkeys?
So
Why
the
did
cl-
the monkeys stay where they were? Blah,
Right.
blah,
So the
blah, blah, blah.
cleverness of the insight, I think, is just showing that no, there's not one certain idea that's the problem. It's that the collective is the problem, where we could just take something completely arbitrary and decide I will die over this idea because I've got all these people behind me that agree with me, and we're going to go to war against this other group that has another
and
idea.
This could speak to a new concept that we haven't talked about, which is really ideologies. And where do ideologies stem from? Well, a person, if he has his own perspective, you can't really say it's an ideology. It only really becomes an ideology when it gains traction and becomes a movement among a whole bunch of people. And then you say these fuckers are ideologues. You can't reason with them. They won't be reasoned with. They have this way of this doctrine that you can't logically talk your way out of it with them.
No, I know, and these things. It's I would say that it's a constant battle that you have to do, because I mean, I know that for us, I don't think that we could really say that we fall into any sort of political slant. Some people might listen to what we say and go, "Oh, you guys are like into the conservative thing,"
I would
or
agree
they,
with
or they
Solanke
listen.
on this.
They
that
listen
we're
to
more like political atheists.
yeah, because you guys. I mean, it depends on the video that you watch. If you watch one about finance, we probably look like a bunch of commies. If you watch one about some other like traditional values or something, we look like a bunch of neocons. So the point is that it's comfortable to be like, oh, I've got my niche market and I've got people that are like, patting me on the back. Oh, wow, good job. But it's also, and it's not about being a troll to just being pissing people off. This is what we really, like most of what we say, unless we're like actually joking, is what we are actually thinking about this current thing. Not to say that we're like concrete and we're not going to shift dependent upon if there's like a more valid argument.
Well, politically, I think there's a balance. When I say politically, I also mean economically. I mean, George Orwell himself said that socialism really is the only thing that really makes sense ultimately.
Well, I'm glad you brought up like that, because I think like there's certain authors that I really like, but I think there is a value in, because there's something that's very difficult when you take an author that you really like and then you go, well, that doesn't quite fit. And you go, yeah, that's fine. I actually don't have to agree with literally everything he had to say.
Right.
Just because I like the majority, and I also don't have to discount him because I disagreed with one thing.
Right.
Like I thought when I was reading about Mark Twain and his vision of like the Aborigines and the Hawaiians when he was visiting.
Oh yeah.
And when he's talking about it, and he's talking about like from the Western perspective and how bad like colonialism was, but I was also thinking, yes, but you are being like on a train system,
served by
on a train
colonial system
with
by
guards
you
that
have
are
the luxury to criticize.
But like if Mark Twain had gone there and he's like, man, I'm going there and I'm just going to live with the Aborigines and then make a bunch of statements about how great they are.
No,
I could at least go, well, okay, to be fair, you did just go and live with the Aborigines. But if you're like on a train and you're passing some like huts and you're like, oh, those guys are the better guys. Okay, they're gone now.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought, but
go and live amongst them
but
and
here's the thing.
see what it's like.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I love Mark Twain, and I also have to appreciate that when someone lives in a different time period, while something that someone says now could sound like it's going along with the mainstream, but what he was saying was a lot more controversial and took balls. So in some ways, you have to give kudos to someone that's willing to stick their neck out, because he was sticking his neck out more in that time, even though today saying the antithesis of it would be sticking your neck out.
Right.
So it's kind of confusing. You have to do a little bit of calculation in these things.
Well, considering that in the time that he was visiting these islands, the British Empire was probably at its zenith, at its height.
Yeah, and so this is another thing.
So he had the luxury as a white person coming from America with probably English heritage to go, oh, really?
Hey, we're doing this, are we?
Well, I'm going to be pretty damn magnanimous and say that I think these Aborigines are doing things just splendidly.
Just smashing. If we didn't have a cave, I'm sure they'd be pulling themselves up from the bootstraps.
Now we're at the dawn of our we're at the dusk of our civilization.
Yeah,
the twilight.
And so different.
And so now it's time to cherish and pull in these components and aspects of our culture or our history that we think is worth salvaging, and thinking that possibly it's worth preserving.
But it goes back to the old expression of not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Is like, we do really struggle, especially in the age of hyper-collectivism, because I think you could almost call it hyper-collectivism. Maybe that's what I should call this.
When that bathwater was really dirty, it was easy to kind of like throw it out.
That's why how the expression came, because everyone would wash first and the baby would be the last person to be washed.
Okay.
So that's why. But anyways.
All right.
Maybe that's what it should be called, like the age of hyper-collectivism. Because in a sense, we do live in an age of hyper-collectivism. I remember even like Nietzsche, there was like a story between like Nietzsche and some of his friends and stuff. And just how publicly critical these guys who were supposed to be buddies were of their like philosophies and ideologies. They didn't pull any punches, but it didn't seem to affect their friendship. Like they were able to handle being like, yeah, that's
saying,
insane.
Well,
what
I
you
have a
just
different
said there,
perspective, and he could go, oh, okay,
like
yeah.
your firm of nihilism, it makes no sense, and still because he's putting forth reasons behind it, not just attacking him personally. It was like, okay, that's your opinion, and I'm making my opinion, and they can move on. And I think this is like you don't get that in the age of hyper-collectivism. Because in the age of hyper-collectivism, there's no room for disagreement. There's no room for going...
No, the collective demands that everybody think and feel the same way about everything.
I'm going to appreciate that, like, if someone's coming from, like, a highly privileged upper middle-class family, that their life experience is not going to be identically parallel to mine. And so you should kind of have a little bit of leeway for going, yes, your perspective can be different because you've never gone through the stuff I've gone through. But then vice versa, you hope that the other person realizes that, yeah, I've experienced some shit that is informing me, that makes me a lot more embittered about rich people because I've worked under them. I've gotten ripped off multiple times working as a salaried person below them. I've seen them cut corners. I've seen them do other. But if you have never been in that position, you're not going to understand, and that's fine. But we don't get that in this age of like groupthink, where
I think you could prove that most colleges and universities all have their bread buttered on the same side by the same people. Because when was the last time you heard a liberal university like Harvard disagree with a so-called quasi-conservative university like Yale?
Right.
When have they ever made a public statement and basically had it out in an argument on anything?
I think
so. When you see these kind of things, you realize
but I do think, like, for myself, I think it'd be incredibly interesting. I think it'd be really valuable if people taught their kids at a young age the basics, because most people should know like simple arithmetic and reading, writing, and all this other shit. And they teach their kids at the young age, and then after they're like into the 13-year-old sort of realm, that's when they start going into public school. And I think it would change dramatically because now you've got a series of kids that have their parents that have taught them, and they're going to have a lot less like, oh yeah, everybody knows what I'm talking about. You're going to have to explain your points a lot more succinctly. You're going to have to like lay down the basics, and you're going to have to learn how to put forth a point quickly where you can say, you know nothing about this topic, and I'm going to start out with this, this, and this. Right now, all we have is like we've been ingraining kids from a young age with like all the talking points, and so you got like trigger words where you're just like liberalism, and they're just like boom, go, and they just rant for an hour because all this stuff has been packed into their brains, all this like, you know, programming. Basically.
I don't know if I can explain this succinctly, but I was wondering if
we only get one succinctly per video, and I already used it, but go ahead.
Did you already?
Yeah, but that's okay. You're kind of jumping on a bandwagon almost like a collectivist would. What? No, I just got.
I'm just wondering if you saw someone who, you see, people are so deceived by looks and appearances, and if people say the right words and they kind of look good and they got all their makeup on right, how would you know whether someone was deceptive and actually bewitching you by their charms or their good looks or the way they could put on makeup? Well, like, how would you know?
But here's a good. That's a good point. No, I'm gonna feed off of that because I think it ties into what I'm talking about right now. Is that collectivism is great for liars, right? Because you learn what the patterns are. You learn what the patterns of conversation, how debate works, how people's thought process works, and then you can manipulate that because you know what like is going to lead to B, and then B is going to lead to C, and you can basically start to figure out how to manipulate people by
like
using
a con
that.
man would know how to go. Well, I know he's with Jesus.
Okay, dude. Let's stay on. I just want to get this like point hammered through.
Drill it home.
Is like because you can start to feel the way that people are moving and their thought process is operating by just knowing how the system works. And once you know what the curriculum is, you know how to start manipulating them. Now, on the antithesis of it, if you don't have a set form of curriculum, you don't really have a set pattern to go off of. You just end up meeting this guy and you don't know because his life, he was taught by his parents. Maybe he was in like Oklahoma or something and he was living on a farm, and his like entire thought process, what is normal to him is not what is normal to the guy that was brought up in New Jersey. And when they have a conversation, they have to elucidate their points, like boom, and they have to make it into like the assumption being, you don't understand what I'm saying until I explain every detail of it, right? And in that world, I think it's a lot more difficult to perpetrate deceptions because now you got this confidence man who's going to be like going around like, okay, first I have to fucking do a psychological evaluation of every mark that I have. I can't make generalizations because I don't know exactly what they're thinking. And they might be nuanced. And, you know, just because he says this doesn't mean he believes this, this, and this. So I got my work cut out for me. I'm going to have to spend like 30 years with this fucking guy until I'm able to scam him into a, pyramid scheme. Right?
I don't think you're going to waste that much time.
No,
but speaking of time, though, dude, I think we're going to be at least 35 minutes on this.
No, I think we're already at the limit.
Okay.
But I do think that we wrapped it up not too bad in this.
And this, I think, was a little bit more upbeat than we were hoping Friday was going to be.
You never know. I mean, sometimes you're like, collectivism, this is going to be depressing as shit. But, hey, we pulled something relatively.
No, and I think this groupthink is an extremely important subject, especially when mass deception is rampant. It's on the loose.
Yeah. And also, like, mass I would almost say, like, it's built-in agreement where you've constructed something to like almost like your terms of conditions or your terms of use on online
where it's somebody like speaks like Marmouth.
No, but it's not even that now. It's just like, here's the terms of conditions. If you want to read it, well, you can read like this
pages of really small print.
Or maybe more,
or just
more
like I agree.
150 pages of fine print, right? And you're like, or you just agree, and we might change it too, and we'll just assume that the time you agreed, like 10 years ago, it still applies
it's gonna be like 2 months ago, and they'll come up with a new terms of agreement.
Yeah, no, but they just assume that they make you sign this contract that's a binding contract of
maybe
agreement.
This is where AI could come in handy. Is you just get your AI program to read the terms and conditions of Microsoft's latest offer and say,
Microsoft AI brought to you to protect you from Microsoft is going to protect you by reading it for you.
Sometimes AI is unbiased, man. You gotta believe in the science.
Oh, we sold you to a work camp. Oh, I'm sorry. We thought that you would like that. We didn't know. But yeah,
it said on your resume you like cold weather. So.
But so I do think that this idea of like this terms of conditions where you're doing one click and you're agreeing to like 150 pages of whatever jargon, right? But we kind of do that with collectivism already, where we go, well, I identify as a conservative, and you're just clicking on all of these 150 pages of things, and then you go, I'm a Christian, and you could just click on another huge giant list of things, but nobody's reading the fine print, and nobody's actually thinking, I want to make my own contract, my contract of life. I want to decide each component on this contract of life, and I want to decide what point A is and point B, and I don't want to just click okay, I agree at the end. I want to be able to formulate myself into a unique individual that isn't fitting into any one of your little blocks. And that, I think, is the video, unless
crux.
you have something you want to ruin the ending with.
No, I have something, but I'll hold it for another time. It's okay. It's cool.
Unless it's really good.
Man,
but there's
forgot
now
about it
pressure. Okay, well, it wasn't that good. So
here today, gone tomorrow.
all right, guys.
Have a good
one.
Monday afternoon and evening. And see you
bye-bye.
tomorrow.